This episode is about weird historical photos that will leave you in shock. Conjoined twins from history whose remarkable and often forgotten stories will truly capture your imagination. Nineteenth-century conjoined twins pose formally in matching suits, their connected bodies a source of both deep fascination and subtle unease. Before moving forward, we request you to subscribe our channel, Vintage Photos, and comment if you like the video and suggest us the next vintage photos as well. Rare photographs reveal the faces of boxer prisoners from the final years of China's ancient Qing dynasty. Meet tallest individuals ever recorded, Robert Pershing Wadlow. He remains the tallest person in history for whom there is irrefutable evidence, with 8 feet 11 inches of height. Stunning restored photographs reveal the iconic and transformative history of China in captivating detail. A 1920s Berlin family tests their balance on a primitive tandem bicycle, a fragile contraption for urban life. A performer juggles 6 balls with impossible precision, his body and skill appearing almost inhuman. A grim scene from 1920s Europe shows a dentist and assistants forcibly extracting a tooth from a struggling child. On a 1920s film set, a woman contorts herself unnaturally over a camera, a surreal fusion of human and machine. In 1920s Japan, a man ingeniously climbs a bicycle to peer over a tall wall, a tense and strange moment. A young contortionist in a 1920s studio bends her body into an unsettling and alien geometric form. A 1930s nurse anesthetist holds a large mallet, her imposing presence a surreal and slightly threatening image. A European boy cries while being restrained from medical treatment, a raw look at early pediatric care. A calm man at a 1930s rodeo rides a massive buffalo, creating a surreal and dangerous spectacle. A 1937 Budapest woman undergoes an extreme freckle removal, her face encased in a disturbing cosmetic contraption. In a 1950s pediatric hospital, a nurse uses a large syringe on a patient under the watch of a child. A 1950s street scene captures a young boy urinating in public as adults shop, a humorous yet awkward moment. A 1960s housewife performs a perilous balancing act on a teetering ironing board during her daily chores. Two men in a 1960s European bathroom merge newspaper reading and bathing in a surreal domestic tableau. A small dog hides under a chair at a bustling 1960s European market, an uncanny private moment in public. A 1960s nurse bathes an infant with clinical precision, a stark reflection of historical child care practices. A crowded 1960s Japanese commuter train evokes claustrophobia as attendants push passengers into the oppressive carriage. A woman in a 1960s office stores her sleeping infant in a desk drawer, a surreal workplace solution. Two jubilant nuns charge into the ocean surf in the 1960s, their soaked habits creating a pagan-like ritual. Two individuals encased in grotesque seagull costumes create a bizarre and slightly disturbing scene at a 1970s festival. A man in the 1970s balances on a towering stack of newspapers while riding his bicycle and reading. An elderly woman in 1990s California kicks a soccer ball while balancing shopping bags, a surreal and humorous sight. A bearded circus attraction in refined attire presents an eerie and captivating relic from forgotten sideshow history. A vintage photograph shows a young girl with snakes entwined in her hair, creating an eerie and mystical aura. A bride and groom stand beside a towering gentleman, their dramatic height difference forming an uncanny vintage scene. A burn survivor poses with quiet strength, his scarred features telling a powerful story of endurance and resilience. A child smiles beneath a crown of curling wires in an unnerving blend of innocence and early technological ambition. A chilling vintage mugshot shows a stern woman with a missing arm, evoking a grim history of societal neglect. A costumed 19th century performer sits gracefully, his delicate pose and ambiguous gender lending an otherworldly quality. A disturbing portrait of a young girl captures a painful glimpse into an unsettling period of history. A solemn African-American man in a vintage image heightens the unbearable tension of a grim historical moment. A vintage portrait of a young dwarf girl evokes a deep sense of unease, a relic from an eerie past. A formally dressed little couple poses for a wedding portrait, a bittersweet moment wrapped in Victorian stillness. A man in 1870s China wears a wooden punishment collar, his expression a painful testament to brutal history. A grinning sideshow performer grips a cloudy glass, his exaggerated features glowing under harsh carnival lamps. A Civil War amputee's exposed wounds and stoic expression reflect the true horror and devastation of the conflict. A haunting photograph shows impoverished children sleeping on a cold street, a stark reminder of society's dark past. A heavily haired performer gazes solemnly forward, creating a haunting and majestic presence from old carnival history. A man with thick facial hair obscuring his identity creates an eerie and almost mythic presence in this portrait. A lone figure with distorted features gazes upward, creating a haunting atmosphere reminiscent of early cinematic horror. A A small-statured man stands alone in an oversized studio, his quiet posture creating a haunting and fragile silence. A man with severe facial disfigurement stares forward, a haunting reminder of early medical limitations and societal fascination. A man with severe facial injuries gazes forward with quiet dignity, a portrait of hidden battles and resilience. A massive Dutch performer sits heavily on a fragile chair, creating an unsettling tension in early circus photography. A massive man grins widely, his rugged features forming an overwhelming presence reminiscent of legendary strongmen. A poised figure in ornate fabric stares forward, their silent confidence blending faded elegance with unsettling mystery. A scarred father holds his newborn gently, forming a deeply emotional portrait of survival, hope, and enduring love. A sharply dressed man with dramatically bulging eyes smiles with an unsettling and eerie theatrical charm. A skeletal figure stands poised upon a platform, his dramatic cape forming a ghostly silhouette from sideshow history. A smiling mother cradles her armless, legless daughter in a 1940s doorway, a disquieting and loving portrait. A woman calmly endures a bizarre metal contraption in a disturbingly serene moment of experimental vintage science. A solemn gentleman stands beside a window, his impossibly long beard trailing across the floor in a mesmerizing oddity. A man with an unsettling golden dental implant evokes a sense of surreal and extreme bodily transformation. Three men wear grotesque, oversized ruffs, their expressionless faces adding to the photograph's deeply eerie atmosphere. A tattooed man laughs freely, his missing teeth and bold artwork shaping a raw portrait of a life lived in rebellion. A tiny circus performer gazes upward at a towering clown, their dramatic size difference forming an uncanny tableau. A towering gentleman poses with companions, his immense stature transforming an ordinary family portrait into an uncanny scene. A Victorian-era woman sits poised, her fused hands and claw-like feet displayed as an unsettling spectacle. A performer in elaborate Chinese opera makeup wears a stark mask, their intense gaze creating an unnerving energy. Two boys in old-fashioned attire hold solemn expressions, creating a haunting and uncomfortable vintage atmosphere. A woman with pronounced facial deformities gazes sideways, her heavy folds of skin producing a somber and striking portrait. An elderly man with a horn-like growth curving from his head creates a chilling and otherworldly image. An elderly man proudly poses with an enormous looping beard and a small animal nestled within its coils. Annie Jourado stars in the bizarre 1963 film, The Husband of the Bearded Woman by Marco Ferreri. Before and after photographs reveal the devastating facial injuries suffered by soldiers during the First World War. These haunting before and after photos document the severe facial injuries of soldiers from the First World War. Charles Laughton embodies the tragic and deformed hunchback Quasimodo in this iconic cinematic portrayal. This photographic print from around 1900 captures the trial of a boxer in historical China. Four colossal Confederate veterans pose stiffly in 1870s Texas, their unnatural heights evoking deep unease. Around 1900, a young woman holds a small alligator, its lifeless body contrasting with her delicate pose. A woman from the circa 1900s contorts her face into an exaggerated grimace for theatrical photography. In a circa 1950s circus, a dwarf man cradles a small child with surprising and affectionate care. Explore a collection of rare and captivating historical photographs available for sale on the eBay platform. Meet the conjoined twins who are thriving against all odds, living a full life despite being permanently connected. This study examines the visual culture of corporal punishment in early 20th century Japanese society. A person kneels with intense emotion in a dramatic performance, wearing a contrasting outfit and flower headpiece. In early 20th century rural India, two men restrain a third for a coercive and unsettling face treatment. A man dressed in theatrical medieval costume strikes a stern pose, evoking the drama of historical pageantry. A woman from the early 20th century holds a tin can to her ear, pretending it is a telephone. In an early 1900s zoo, a wealthy woman perches atop an ostrich in a bizarre and disconcerting display. An early 1900s hunter crouches triumphantly atop a pile of alligators, evoking a sense of grotesque mastery. A young woman from the early 1900s painfully cinches her waist into an extremely tight corset. An aged couple in an early 2000s city park wobbles determinedly on rollerblades while gripping hands. In an early 20th century parlor, a bearded gentleman hoists his shoe to his ear, showing freakish elasticity. An Edwardian-era gentleman wears an extravagant swan headdress, the dead bird seemingly mimicking his thoughts. Discover everything the film The Greatest Showman completely misrepresented about the real Barnum and Bailey circus. A fur-clothed performer with an insect mask and blade fringe stands before a towering, eerie carved totem. Hunt-in medical portraits reveal the extreme and often shocking symptoms suffered by patients throughout history. It is always good to be proud of your heritage, a meaningful part of your identity and personal history. In 1930s America, a towering man dwarfs his own family, his unnatural height casting an eerie shadow. In 1960s Nigeria, a young fighter wears ammunition coiled like a crown, a disturbing aura of menace. A woman holds a yoga balance in a courtyard with a black crow perched on her back, creating a ritualistic feel. Two indigenous dancers in early 1900s, Alaska pose in ornate regalia with unsettling carved masks. Inside a mid-century retirement home, a grandmother shows off a fresh tattoo while another knits behind her. Jacob Miller, a war-scarred survivor, stands as a powerful testament to human endurance and resilience. In a late 20th century hospital room, parents share an intimate and haunting embrace with their terminally ill child. A late 20th century elderly woman bends unnaturally to peer into a store window, a whimsical yet eerie sight. An elderly woman in late 20th century Europe calmly performs a wheelie on a commuter bicycle through traffic. Less than a century ago, Frank Williams was considered so fat he was displayed in a circus freak show. A living room snapshot from the hula hoop craze shows a middle-aged woman gyrating with unsettling adult gravity. A man crouches low on the sand, performing a ritualistic spiritual act with a deeply intense and focused gaze. A man with his face and hair completely coated in dry mud resembles a figure made of wild grass or moss. Meet Morris Tillett, the real man who was the rumored inspiration behind the beloved animated character Shrek. In a mid-20th century city park, an elderly woman bundled in mismatched layers gazes warily at the world. A nurse and doctor in a mid-20th century hospital carefully operate an enclosed infant incubator. Nurses in a mid-20th century hospital tend to children confined in upright iron lung compartments. In a mid-20th century maternity ward, a nurse measures a newborn by suspending the infant upside down. A nurse in a mid-20th century maternity ward performs a delicate internal examination on a patient. A patient reclines under a medical traction device as a relative kisses her hand in a mid-century photograph. A man from the mid-20th century devours a plate of spaghetti with grotesque and excessive enthusiasm. A mid-20th century patient wears a primitive and intimidating inhalator device for respiratory treatment. An elderly woman from the mid-20th century rides a small moped with fierce and determined energy. At a mid-century motel pool, an older swimmer hangs suspended mid-dive above a child, an uncanny spectacle. A middle-aged woman is arrested during a nonviolent protest in the transformative year of 1964. On a gray beach, 4 young men stand synchronized and balanced on their heads in an eerie ritual. On a lonely dirt path, an elderly woman crouches over a child's tricycle, her stare turning playful into predatory. A person wears a giant furry bear costume complete with wings and holds a spear in a surreal image. A person in traditional attire wears a deer-like mask and antlers near an old rustic stone building. At a post-war fairground, 2 elderly riders cling tightly to a brightly painted carousel horse. In a rural early 20th century scene, a man absurdly straddles a pig as if it were a horse. Schlitzie, during his early years with Ringling Brothers, was billed as the last of the Aztec people. Explore sideshow history, memories, stories, photographs, and art at the online museum, Sideshow World. Somewhere along a late 20th century coastline, an aged man kiteboards skillfully across the choppy water. A studio portrait from the 1980s captures an elderly woman thrashing on an electric guitar. On a suburban roadside, an elderly woman grips a bus stop pole while lifting one leg toward the sky. On a sun-bleached 1970s shoreline, 3 elderly women march purposefully with their surfboards. Discover the story of the French far artist who headlined at the world-famous Moulin Rouge venue. The mysterious case of Petr Anokhin and Soviet scientific cinema explores the lives of conjoined twins. Find the perfect and provocative Christmas burlesque outfit for your next year's holiday celebration. This is the Toki Brothers, a famous set of conjoined twins from the year 1875. A look into unique devices from Golden Era. These medical devices from history are so frightening, they will give you nightmares. These vintage Halloween photographs from decades past are genuinely going to scare you tonight. This picture by Nick Ut depicts the true horror of the Vietnam War through a devastating scene. Three women stand restrained in a heavy wooden cane, their solemn faces capturing a grim historical moment. Two Boxer prisoners are guarded by a group of Italian soldiers in this historical photograph. Two conjoined twin girls in frilled dresses pose stiffly for a formal portrait from the 1890s. Two figures stand in towering woven masks and grass skirts in a traditional or ritualistic display. Two masked Apache crown dancers create a powerful image in a dimly lit early 1900s room. Two people in traditional attire with headdresses and jewelry sit and stand by ancient stones. The Van Druysen sisters, Elsa and Hilda, were a famous tall sister act, measuring 8'6" and 7'11". In a Vietnam War-era barracks, a soldier shaves another who squats on a toilet, a scene of bizarre military intimacy. This 1988 photograph by Kai Fromark captures the iconic and traditional Swedish Yule goat. Welcome to Vintage Photos. Step back in time with me into a world of vintage photographs. From the streets of 1800s New York to the festivals, wars, and celebrations of the 1900s, every picture tells a forgotten story. Celebrities, bridges, parades, and everyday moments that shaped history. Subscribe, and let's bring the past back to life, one photo at a time.